How's it going, everyone? Josh or Miho here. I hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I got an album review to do for you, and I'm going to be talking to you about the debut album from the band Embalmed, entitled Brutal Delivery of Vengeance. This is released on Corpse Gristle Records. Now, if you're not too familiar with this band, they are based out of Dallas, Texas, and the best way to describe the sound of this band would be a very simplistic, old school style of brutal death metal. Now, this band has come out with some really awesome demo work in the mid 90s. I mean, demos such as Pieces Remain and Boiling Humans. Those two particular demos really brought forth the old school style of Texas death metal. Now, when I think of old school death metal from Texas, I think of stuff like Severance or Disencumbrance, bands of that nature, and Embalmed is another one of those old school kind of bands that really help pave a way for other bands like maybe, let's say, Devourment, for example, and other bands of that nature to follow. Just some really gritty, hard-hitting, old school kind of stuff. And, of course, there's been a little bit of a time gap between the demos and the debut full-length that we have now. Now, nowadays, Embalmed are pretty much back in the forefront of things. Pretty much most of the original lineup has been brought forth to this project. And after all this time, we have the very first full-length album from Embalmed entitled Brutal Delivery of Vengeance. It's 11 tracks, and it clocks in at around 46 minutes in length. And pretty much this is going to feel like comfort food once you first put this album on. If you are already aware of this band's previous demo works, or if you're a fan of old school, brutal styles of death metal, you'll feel right at home and feel comfortable with this Embalmed album. I mean, it's not really reinventing the wheel or breaking new ground, but if you really are into the old school style of stuff, this album has plenty of stuff to offer for you. Um, there's a lot of really heavy hitting guitar work to be heard on this album. I mean, from the minute you hear tracks like Regimen of Death, Bathtub Slayings, to even Penetralia, you get some really top of the heap riff work. Very well played, very old school, very well executed. The way everything sounds and the way everything is played out, it definitely paces itself and does take its time very easily here. I think the guitar riffs sound really awesome here, and the same can be said for the underlying bass tone. It has that old school death metal kind of quality as soon as you hear the bass. It's very dingy, it's very gritty, it is very heavy and hard hitting. I like the way that it's produced in this album's mix. It doesn't feel muddy, it doesn't feel out of place. It definitely feels very comfortable and very in tune with what's being brought forth with the instrumentation and the musicianship going on here. I think the songwriting is very well done here. When it comes to the drum work, I think the drum work is very old school, very top notch, very simplistic, but yet it's done in a very tasteful manner. You can appreciate the hard work that's being brought forth by the drummer here. Nothing feels too fast or too over the top. It feels very comfortable. Like I said before at the beginning of the review, once you listen to this album, if you have the mindset of old school death metal, or preferably old school Texas death metal, you'll already know what you're in store for, and you'll feel comfortable with it. And that's one of the aspects of the drum work here. I think the drum work is very well done here. The snares, the fills, just the overall patterns and styles being brought forth by the drum work, I think it's very good. Very simplistic, but yet also very good. And I'm also digging the vocal style. Very powerful, very bellowing growls. You almost get a little bit of that 80s earache influence when you listen to the vocal style. I think this vocalist has a really good intensity to him, and he definitely shows why this band has really been an important factor in the underground Texas metal scene. Just some really top quality vocal work here. I'm loving the growls. I'm loving how the power in his voice. I just think it's really awesome. Um, I do think this is a pretty lengthy album for being 46 minutes in length. I would have liked for it to have been maybe trim just a couple of minutes. But that's just a small complaint in an album that really pays its respects to where it came from. Its old school ideas and thoughts, the production, the way the album sounds, the songwriting. It's very simplified, but yet they make it work. Embalmed make it work here, and I think this is a really, really solid debut album. Here's hoping that in the future that we'll hear more full lengths from this band and see where the legacy of Embalmed goes from here. I think it's a pretty damn good legacy if you ask me. So if you're into old school Texas death metal, the brutal kind of stuff, Disencumbrance, Severance, you'll definitely enjoy what Embalmed bring to the table with this debut album. If I had to pick any favorite tracks, I would definitely have to say Regimen of Death, Insurgent Killer, Bathtub Slayings, Penetralia, Bludgeoned, and Pieces Remain. Some pretty choice cuts here. I'm going to leave you some links in the description box as to how you can get a hold of this album and listen to it. I'm going to leave you a link in the description box to the Corpse Gristle Big Cartel page where you can purchase a physical copy of this album. And also to the Embalmed Bandcamp page where you can stream this album in full, hear it for yourself, be your own judge as to whether you feel it's deeming of being purchased or not, and also you can purchase it digitally. I believe this is being also distributed to Dark Blasphemies over in Europe, so I believe they're going to be having this album be released too if you happen to live overseas. So again, the album is Brutal Delivery of Vengeance by Embalmed. This is released in America through Corpse Gristle Records. Check it out if you want. And for the time being, I'm going to give this album a 7.5 out of 10, maybe an 8 later on. This is something that's definitely going to grow on you with multiple listens. So definitely check out Embalmed if you're into old school death metal. I'm going to conclude this review. Thanks all for watching. Thanks for checking out my channel. And until next time, Miho out.